this might just be the best Ursarctic deck ever. Not that surprising because we just slapped a meta deck into it. Greetings, Rigil Agateiades here, and today we are testing out an idea I got looking at all the Yubel decks flying around. So basically, Phantom of Yubel is a monster negate that you can get by simply having 2 Yubels in the grave. And Yubel is a level 7 or higher monster. Do you get where this is going? Yep, we're putting Ursarctics and Yubels together because Yubels are surprisingly good tributes. In fact, the Yubel combo line can get us up to 2 tributes and a monster negate at the cost of a single normal summon. With this, I had the best ever Ursarctic run that is still going. A board with Centurion as a floodgate and then 2 monster negates alongside and 2 draws off radiation is nothing to scoff at. With the Yubel parts, the deck is exponentially stronger against hand traps. Baiting one with Samsara D Lotus and still getting a free negate with Phantom occasionally is extremely strong, especially when all you need to do is to use the stopped Lotus and whatever you used as an Ursarctic pitch in the graveyard as material. And of course, when your opponent didn't throw hand traps, you can always benefit from the extra 2 tributes. But the deck is not just a Yubel deck. The Ursarctic half serves a huge, if not even bigger part. Not only are they DD Crow, Book of Moon, and MSTs in the main deck, but they also shut down all Ixie and Link monsters. With a meta filled with Ixie and Link monsters, Centurion doesn't just shut down all these decks, it also shuts off all the generic going second options. Little Knight, Typhon, Zeus, all these generic board breakers that decks rely on nowadays are turned off just by having Centurion sit there on the field. That is a unique advantage that even the normal Yubel meta deck cannot even dream of. By putting the Yubels and the Ursarctics together, we get the best of both worlds. With that said, it's time to get on to the replays. First, let's demonstrate the combo. This heavily depends on your hand, but if you can afford to, always put down the Phantom first. This isolates us from hand traps right off the bat. Now we can start our combo to get tributes. This is done by using Nightmare Throne and Nightmare Pain. Throne gets the Lotus, which gets the Spirit of Yubel, Spirit searches Nightmare Pain, and Pain searches the second Spirit while triggering Throne to get us the second Yubel form. Suddenly we get 2 tributes while having enough things in the graveyard for a second Phantom of Yubel, which we will need as our opponent burns through the first one. Nib out of the way, now we are free to just drop our Ursarctic combo. Big Bear and a Small Bear into Polari, swap out the field spell before we use it and Polari's effect to get a Big Bear again, and make Centurion while getting 4 draws off radiation. We now have Maxi, Ash, 2 Big Bears and a search for the third, so it's all 3 available. Drop a second Phantom and now we're ready even through a Nib. Our opponent turns out to be on Mikankos and starts with Arabesque. Probably should have used Ash here instead of Megapolar, but we have plenty more in our hand. Opponent then uses triple tag to hand rip us, and he experiences the desperation of looking down 2 Maxis. He uses preparations to get the ritual for a search, looks at our Phantom of Yubel, and surrenders. Remind you, he only had 2 other usable cards because one of the cards in his hand was a stuck Nib. Second Duel, and we go second. Definitely not the strength of this deck, but if you know your opponent's weak point, it is totally possible. Our opponent is on Centurions, cool deck that can go through Ash and Imperm with brute force, but not a Book of Moon. Probably shouldn't have waited for the Gargoyle to drop, but luckily our opponent didn't use the field spell effect, as we Mega Thanos to flip the Primera and his turn ends. Because they can only special summon Primera once, this one move prevented them from synchro summoning at all, and his board is reduced to 1 Phalanx. Our turn, we normal summon Lotus just to take a Veiler, we use our Code By and the Lotus takes the Phalanx as well. But with this, our Ursarctic line is untouched. Definitely didn't forget that the Centurion field spell has inbuilt protection as we use Grand Chariot to wipe the remainder of their field. Pass our turn with a set Code By, Grand Chariot's targeting protection, and the field spell counting down our opponent to 4 special summons. Our opponent couldn't draw a starter, which would take a card by anyway, and he surrenders. Final duel, we go against the half Yubel, half Horus stun deck. Good thing we got to go first against no hand traps. Didn't draw any Yubel pass, but we have Radiation. Gets us a draw, and is an early Nightmare Throne. We temporarily move back to the Yubel combo first. The negate from Phantom is invaluable, and this way we don't draw into the Yubel pass with Radiation. Nightmare Pain triggers Nightmare Throne, both adding the cards to hand for more tributes, while the Spirit summons a Yubel. Could save another card here by using the Yubel pass as Ursarctic fodder first, but that would put us on 5 summons, so we use the second Yubel form in hand directly for the Phantom. Plenty of cards in hand, don't have to take the risk of a nip. Another fun fact, Phantom of Yubel is a level 9, so you can start an Ursarctic combo with 2 big bears and 2 Yubels, just in case you didn't draw a small bear. End phase, since we didn't need to use the Phantom, we have Yubel still on field. Always trigger the effect of Lotus for an extra negate before resolving Yubel's effect to pop itself. Opponent's turn, he starts with the Spirit Gate, which is a half Garnet. Then we Ash Nightmare Throne because we know exactly how powerful that is. Opponent then normal summons Dark Beckoning Beast, grabbing his second Spirit Gate before activating the Horus field spell, definitely leaving a monster negate for that Imsity. Our opponent proceeds to attempt board breaking by going into the extra deck. Grave Squirmer for a Linkuribo before summoning Yubel with Spirit Gate for an SP Little Knight. Tough luck because that is not resolving. With Centurion being a floodgate, that doesn't even activate. He then brings back the Yubel, sounds like a good target for us to steal with our field spell. He activates Little Knight, but of course that doesn't resolve. Finally, Imsity gets negated by our Phantom of Yubel and he surrenders. The full board is good. Really good. Not only do we have 2 monster negates with the Phantom and the Lotus, but we also have Centurion that shuts off all Xyz and Links. This not only shuts down most meta decks, but it also puts board breakers like a Little Knight and Typhon out of the way, while almost guaranteeing a search for an Ursarctic card, essentially a choice between Book of Moon, MST, and DD Crow. Nightmare Pain also provides pseudo battle protection to all Ursarctic monsters, as all attacks gets redirected to Yubel monsters instead. It did cost a lot to craft the Yubel parts, but if you want to play Ursarctics on ranked, this is undoubtedly the strongest way to play it. Just pray that your opponent didn't bring the Evenly.